Okay, this is a little update video of my 2016 Beta 250RR Race Edition. The bike's been fantastic, really. You know, I lose the odd bolt being a two-stroke and a little bit of vibration, but you know, other than that, I mean, I had a little bit of a wiring issue, a grounding issue where you'd pull the front brake in and you get zapped through the bars. That was a bad ground in the wiring harness right about here somewhere. Beta warrantied it, hole in the wiring harness. I pulled it apart, soldered all the connectors individually. It hasn't been an issue since. I just haven't taken the tape off. So, I'm on my 5th set of tires, and for me and my riding style, I find that the Pirelli MX Extra and an 8100 seems to work the best in the front for my ability and my style of riding, where, you know, it's got some good cup lugs for the sideways, so it's got good lateral bite, which is nice for some of the higher speed stuff and even the slow stuff. And then you come around the back, and this is the IRC M5B 140 18. It's been an awesome tire. I think this is the second full set of this combination I've run. I've run the Dunlop AT81s. I've run the stock Michelins, which were terrible tires. If you buy a new Beta off the showroom floor and it's DOT approved, please just get rid of those tires. Don't try to make them work. They won't. They'll make you hate the bike. So as you can see, brand new chain and sprockets. And as you can see, it was time for a new one. So I'm really impressed. I bought this bike not knowing what it would be like, being new to Canada at the time and not having a whole lot of information on them. So I've just basically ridden it to the point of wearing everything out, trying to figure out what's wrong with it and trying to find its flaws. But I will say, I'm impressed. The stock chain and sprockets, I lied. The stock chain and rear sprocket went 110 hours. The front sprocket, I think I changed twice before this one. So I think I did the original one and then one more for that setup. Other than that, I mean, I've had no real issues. I need to do some carb work. When it leans over on the side stand, as most people know, Betas have a terribly short side stand with a terribly small bottom piece, so it sinks in everywhere. It just pisses pisses fuel out the breather tube. So I need to do some float work, but it's not a big deal. That's just me being lazy. So, you know, other than that, I mean, I've done brake pads. It's my second set of wheel bearings. Other than that, it's been a great bike. I mean, as you can see, I'll cycle through the menu here. I don't know where I am. There you go. 111 hours, 4,425 kilometers. Stock motor, you know, knock on wood, because you never know. We're getting there. I think I'll pull it apart at about 150 hours just to have a look and see. But other than that, it's been great. I run 50-to-1. I've always run AMSOIL Dominator. You know, I keep up on my air filter maintenance. I just put a new battery in it for the first time. I went to a lightweight lithium with it instead of the stock heavy lead acid one. So, you know, we're going to give that a go. I mean, I don't think I'm a good enough dirt rider to see a difference, but who knows? Maybe so. I don't mind the mess in the background. I'm in the middle of building a mezzanine in my new shop. So that'll be another video for another day. But yeah, so basically it's just a quick little rundown of my Beta. And, you know, just want to say it's been a great bike, and, you know, don't feel bad about buying one versus a KTM or a Sherco or anything of the sort. I mean, if it can handle my abuse of, you know, multiple hours, 6 gear wide open on dirt roads, some road riding, you know, even a little bit of highway riding even to get to certain places. If most people don't know, I'm a professional superbike racer. I raced all over Canada and the southeastern states, from 2011 till now. So COVID threw a wrench in it for a couple years, but we're back. So I'll do a video on my road bike some other day as well. So, but for now, just a quick little update on the Beta. Just want to say I liked it. The only real dislike that I have with it that stands out is the the rear shock. I really don't like the rebound dampening on the rear shock. It's not like a piston and valve setup like most bikes are. It's just a needle valve, which screws in and out of a hole, and the needle doesn't really have much of a taper on it. It kind of just gives me a lot of harshness. Like, you'd be flying down a fire road and hit a rough spot, and it'll want to buck you over the bars like this. So I don't know. If the only thing, I haven't ridden a newer one, so I'm not sure what the newer rear shocks are like. I've done a lot of work with Lauren Banks at B2 Suspension for the front end. We've done a lot of work, and we've done a lot of work in the rear. I think there's some other stuff I can buy to band-aid it, like a bladder extension and some other control valves and stuff that go in the piston. But at this point, either I buy a new bike and sell this one, or I throw, a Öhlins rear shock or an Elka or something in the rear end of this thing, and then that'll sort it out, and maybe do a set of K-Tech cartridges in the front. If I do that, then I'm committed. I'll be keeping the bike till it's dead. My last dirt bike before this was my ex Supermoto race bike. It was a 2002 CRF 450R, fully built motor. It had a Supermoto setup. I still have it actually on the shelf. It had dirt tires. I rode it in the dirt at the end of its life. I raced it for 3 seasons, I think, as a Supermoto here in Atlantic Canada. And then I retired it to dirt duty as I went, moved my way up to the super bikes. But I kept that bike for almost, I don't know, it was like 10 years I had that bike. So I don't really like to sell things. So, I either get rid of this, buy a new one. What will I go with a brand new one? I'm not sure. I think I'll shop around. I ride Honda CBR 600s in the Superbike series and the Sport Bike series. So, Toys for Big Boys is one of my sponsors in Moncton, New Brunswick. So probably this time around, I will go with a KTM. And I'm going to do a street legal kit on it as well, just because it just fixes some of the issues with the New Brunswick trail systems. And dirt bikes aren't allowed here and there. But I've never had an issue being fully registered. They know I have insurance. They know I have, all of the stuff I need to be legal on the road. So nobody's ever given me a hard time off-road, except for a few ATV guys, but that's besides the point. I'm not going to say a couple of guys that ride ATVs, reflect on the rest of the ATV riders, because, a lot of my buddies are ATV riders and they're not like that. So, but other than that, this bike has been great. I haven't really done anything to it mod-wise. I think I did handlebars, some vibration dampeners, the KTM parts ones, and bark busters. And then some suspension mods, and I did do tubeless. Tubeless, if you've got a dirt bike and you do any kind of off-roading and you're not as hardcore as some of the woods guys, that do a lot of single track and stuff, I don't know, there's a big debate between tubeless versus moose or just a heavy-duty tube. I always seem to get a flat when I ran heavy-duty tubes, even on this before I went tubeless. Once I went tubeless, I never got a flat unless I punctured the tire. And in that event of a punctured tire, I could plug the tire and use my bicycle pump to pump the tire back up, and I would just keep going. So it's just so much easier than a tube. I personally have never ran a moose. I know a lot of guys like to run a moose in the front and a tubeless in the rear because I can run 0 PSI in the rear for the really gnarly, crappy stuff. So, I can understand the benefits there. But for me, I run tubeless front and rear. Like tomorrow, we're going to do a run from Sussex out to Martin Head and back. Mostly fire roads, a little bit of single track. I'll bring the guys in. I'll probably run about 10 PSI in the rear, 12 to 14 in the front, depending on the weather. It looks a little wet, looks a little sloppy, so probably run around 12 in the front. So, but if it's a lot of fire roads running, I'm going to run 15 front and probably 13 rear, just to keep the tires up to absorb the big hits and the rocks that we run into around here. But tomorrow's a bit of a mixed bag. So, and then in off-trail stuff, like in the woods, I run probably 12 to 10 in the front tire. I find if I go any lower than that, it kind of gets sluggish in steering, and I don't really like that. I like to precise, get it to turn. And I usually run anywhere down to 0 if it's mucky, crappy sections. Usually I run around 4 to 6 PSI in the rear, depending on where we're going and what we're doing. So for me, that's kind of what I've found out. But, I'm a bigger guy, I'm about 225 pounds. So, I've got a little bit of body weight to throw around that I can help get some traction in the rear, traction in the front as I need it. So it's not a huge deal. But, it's been a great bike, and I don't think you can go wrong with any of the big three. Whether it's a Honda, Yamaha, Kawasaki. I guess there's more than three now. There's a bunch, but any of the enduro class bikes, they're all about the same. It just comes down to price point, how your dealer has been. I will say that Clay's Off-Road that sells these Betas and Shercos, they're fantastic to deal with, guys. Like, they're great. Clay, Brent, Mike, Cindy and Darren, they're all great to deal with. I can't complain. The service has been like top notch. I'm sure the service at other dealers would be the same, but I can't comment on that. I've been sponsored by Toys since about 2014. They've been great to deal with for me. And when I bought this in 2016, brand new from Clay's, they've been awesome since then. So, I really can't complain. It's been an awesome bike, and I hope this little update at 110 hours is, just to show you it's still running, still going, and, any of my close buddies that ride with us can attest for, probably just how tough it is, considering, all of my buddies that I ride with who are quick ride big bore 4-strokes, and it's, ATV trails, snowmobile trails, fire roads. It's not really what this thing's designed to do. And, my buddy Shane Scott had that grass track, what we called the River Ranch here in Irishtown. And it was, I forget how many kilometers it was, but it was a relatively large track in a field, like 12 to 15 corners. I can't remember exactly. But I mean, man, it was wide open. You would go there and run 4 hours wide open. You would never let off. Your filter would be covered in dust by the time you're done because it's just so dusty through here in the summer. And we didn't have I did have a water truck. So, we tried our best to water the super quick dusty corners, up around the house with just river water. But you know how it is. Sometimes you'd rather ride than stand there with a fire hose. So, but other than that, I mean, it's, it's had a hard life. It's, it's had an easier life. Let's say this, this last couple of years with COVID and having kids and, Shane moving and selling the track and not really having a chance to ride there anymore. So, but other than that, I mean, it's been a single track weapon now, mostly. I do a little bit of fire road, a little bit of, ATV trail stuff to get to and from. But yeah, it's definitely more of a woods weapon now than it is, a wide open bruiser. So, but other than that, it's been a great bike. Thanks for sticking around and listening to me ramble. Until next time.